Okay, this is it. This is it. Wardrobe check, like makeup. So this is the live, and we're going to do something different because it's come to our attention, and we thought about when we were starting a business, like all three times, and how stressful that was, and how much contention that caused in our marriage. And we thought maybe the one thing that we should do is we should speak to the spouses. Now, I initially said that that was the women, but that doesn't necessarily mean women because there are women that crush at the fence industry every day and are extremely driven. And sometimes there's a supportive male counterpart back at home that feels ignored because the business takes a front seat to everything. And so we wanted to talk about that. And that's basically the topic of the conversation today. And I really want Tanya to tell you, I guess, if you want to start by telling us, when we started Olson Fencing, that was probably when everything got going. And that's probably when you felt the most stress and the most anxiety over the way things went with the business. So maybe talk about that and talk about the way I was back then and how it made you feel. And I don't really want to, interrupt that.
Well, I guess the biggest thing was the fact that it was a whole different time and place. I mean, we had one or two small kids.
We didn't have any when we started.
What year did we start?
We started 2002, and the first one was 2005. So
Oh,
the first 3 years were just filled with a lot of drinking and stupidity.
well, the first few years weren't bad because it was just me dealing with you. And it was a new business, and I worked for you guys, right? My memory's really fuzzy on that.
Yeah, you worked
on the
for us
early-
a little bit. Yeah, kind of a little bit in the early years.
I don't remember the early years, which means it wasn't that bad.
But you were busy, and we didn't have
But yeah, I was
kids.
busy, and I had my own thing, and we didn't have kids, and you traveled, and it was fine. I mean, I just waited for you to get back, and then you got back, and it's fine.
Can I refresh your memory? Because it
Yeah.
wasn't. When she says fine,
It's
just
fine.
understand that fine does not mean fine. So I traveled a lot I didn't start traveling probably till 2004. That's when we did the first airport project. So almost 2 years after we did the airport project. But, we worked nonstop. We were nonstop at what we did. And I think even though we didn't have kids, it still added a level of stress, and you still felt lonely because I was with my brothers.
I did, yeah.
I spent a lot of time with Carl, and I spent a lot of time with Alan, and you got left at home
A lot. All the time.
And then in 2005, we had our first child, and it only got worse, and my travel continued. So maybe pick up there. And
somebody wants to know, how did we all meet, and who was chasing who?
Okay, if you want I don't know who this is. This is an anonymous Facebook.
They must not know us because they don't know the story.
Please, this is your show.
I dated his brother. That's how we met. So.
And my brother was a dumbass, and he
dumped me after 2 weeks.
Yeah. And I was like, hey, that's not smart, guy. It's not smart. And so I pursued her. And it took me like 6 months to finally pursue you and win.
Yeah.
And that was actually the start of our fencing career. So I was 15 years old at the time, and I started dating her almost right about a month or maybe 2-3 weeks after I started building fence for the first time at 15 years ago.
It's Ken Johnson. Kenan! I can't recognize you without your accent. Sorry.
Okay, I couldn't. Yeah, we didn't detect the accent from the.
You can't detect the accent.
So, so that's how we met, and we've been together since we were sophomores in high school. So very long
almost
time.
30 years.
It'll be 30 years in April.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple more months, it'll be 30 years we've been together, and not always the best years, but we've learned how to respect each other and deal with each other and let our voices be heard. And so that's kind of where we're at. But the early years were very, very difficult. So tell me how you felt when I was traveling all over the state and you had a brand new newborn at home for the very first time.
Well, I felt very lonely, number one. I mean, I had family that lived next to us, but it's not the same as your spouse. And he traveled Monday through Friday.
Sometimes we'd work Saturday even.
Yeah.
On the prisons and stuff, we'd work Saturday.
Yeah. So he was home sometimes he's only home a few hours, like not even 24 hours between Saturday and Sunday before I had to leave again. And I had a brand new infant who was extremely challenging, and he's still extremely challenging. That'd be Cade.
He's 17 now.
Yeah, and he still proves to be true that he's a pain in the ass. But it's just hard. It was lonely. It was stressful because I was a new mom and I didn't know what I was doing. And yeah, I had all the support financially, but emotionally, I didn't have much at all.
She'd get very frustrated. So, to tell you what we did is we would work. We had a shop. We bought our first shop in 2004, the same year we started the airport, and we would work all day long, and then we'd start drinking at the shop. And I talk about all this in some of the earlier episodes of Successful Contractors. So at 3, 4, 5 o'clock, we'd break out the beer and we'd keep routing posts, and we'd stay at the shop and we'd be down there till midnight.
Mm-hmm.
Every night,
And guess where I was? I was home with a screaming baby all night.
And in the early times, you weren't. We didn't have a baby yet.
No.
You got really frustrated when you had the baby, and then I wasn't there to help support you.
But still, I didn't want to hang out at the shop and drink, so I was rarely there. I was home.
And
before Cade was born.
For my part, and tell me if this sounds at all familiar to what you go through with your spouse. But for my part, I'm thinking, I'm busting my hump every day, and I'm making sure that our needs are met. And we bought our first house in 2004, newly constructed a house in 2004, and moved out of a trailer. So we were basically trailer trash until then.
Mm-hmm.
First house, and we kind of are living the dream. Bought our brand new home, newly constructed home, and I'm providing for all your needs. I make sure there's food on the table. You drive a nice vehicle and you have a nice house, but that wasn't enough for you.
Yeah, because it's not you. It's not emotional support. Material goods only get you so far.
Yeah. And I think that's maybe what a lot of people see is that there's a dynamic, because I just want to provide you with things. And I feel like I'm doing my job if I provide you with the things to give you a nice life.
Yeah.
But even that doesn't make you happy, because there's one big thing missing.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
Believe
it or not, she kind of likes me. She wants me to be there.
I want you to be there. That's what I was saying. The emotional support and the physical support, and being with your spouse.
Yeah. I don't know. Is this might be canon again? Having kids, your spouse traveling all the time and dedicated to his work. How did you keep the spice alive? And that's that's for real.
I don't remember.
Yeah, we don't remember that. We actively work at it now, but I think that's what we really want to get to is as you're trying to work and you're trying to grow a business, just like I am. And people probably look at this and think, oh, this is easy for him. He's done this twice before. This is not easy for me. And if I'm going to be very honest with you guys right now, this has probably been one of the most stressful years that I've ever had. I started Olsen Fencing, and then we crashed Olsen Fencing. Then I started SWI. And out of all that stuff, this has probably been as challenging as the crash of Olsen Fencing.
And had we not be as strong as we are now, we would be worse off than we are.
Had we not been through all that other
right.
stuff.
Had we not been through all that other stuff that we dealt with, and where our marriage was not as strong, it would be hard. It would be really hard. But
and we do some things differently now than we did back then. I don't go out and hang out with a bunch of other people. And so what do we do now that's different than when we started Olsen Fencing? So I would stay late at the shop, and I would hang out with my brothers and hang out with the other coworkers and just get stupid and do all those other things. So how is it different now than when I did that?
So the difference is now, when you're done with the tasks that you have at hand at the office and the shop and the jobs, whatever, you either, number one, call if he's out of town, or number two, he comes straight home. And that's just how it is. There's no more wondering where he is or what are you doing and being jealous of him being gone and I'm stuck at home, and the priorities have changed to where he comes and devotes his time to us after that part is over.
So for me, what I try and do is I try and get done with my work as fast as possible, and then I'm 100% here for them, for both the kids and for Tanya. Now, what did we do today?
We drove around a lot and fixed gates. A lot.
So sometimes it's the stupid little things, and that made her happy. Is it what she wanted to do?
But okay. In all reality, the difference between now versus back then is I have immersed myself into the culture. So instead of before where I was like, what are you doing? Where are you at? Being jealous that he's gone and I'm stuck at home. I go with him. So if he's like, hey, I got to go look at a few gates, got to do this, I'm like, okay, I'll go with you. And is it fun? No, absolutely not. But do I enjoy my time with him? Yes, absolutely. It gives us time to talk. It gives us time to chit chat about things and touch each other. And
just so you know, there's a rule in our car. Maybe not. It's not in every car, but these are the stupid things that we do. So
physical touch. It's a very important.
It is a requirement that as we drive around, that my hand be on her leg. 100% requirement. If I don't, she's like. Now it doesn't matter if I'm the driver or the passenger, but I have to. That's my responsibility. I can only ever have one hand on the wheel.
Yeah.
That's a rule. I don't know when it started. I don't remember signing that in the nuptials, but apparently
no tiny hands.
This is a thing. Yeah, this is a thing. Somebody wants to know if it's tiny hands. I actually have rather large hands.
He has huge hands. But that's the thing is, I had to change my mindset of where instead of being jealous and instead of being wondering and inquisitive and all this, I just decided to immerse myself into the culture. But granted, I have that flexibility now that I work at home and I actually work for him.
And she doesn't like it. This is not where she wants to be. Let's be clear about that too. You want to retire.
I want to retire.
She wants somebody else to take her place and never do that again.
Yeah. But that's just us. But I mean, but you know, even if you do work during the day or if you do have other things, it's just if they have to be working late, be like, hey, can I come with you? You know, can I hold the tape measure? Can I help you program a gate? Or can I hold the flashlight? You know, it's just the little things, just spending time together.
We're still together. And then there's times when I'll get home and she's like, well, can we just go hang out? I just want to go hang out. Well, I can't hang out. I've got to do some computer work. What can I do to help you? So if you're that spouse, that's one of the things I really enjoy is when she comes up to me and is like, I just really want to spend time with you. And if we can help you get through this task faster with my help, then I'm here to help you. And that's really, I think, what makes a strong marriage and a strong team. And that's what's going to help you persevere for this through the tough times of starting a business and growing a business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. So since opening a business, it for sure has had to separate business and life because you have to be so involved with the business to make it work, and it's all you think about. I'm currently working on trying to learn how to separate the business from my personal life. It's not
an easy thing to do at all. And I mean, okay, so you have to realize we've been married for 25 years. You know, we've been through this 2 times.
This is the third.
3 times. 3 times now.
If you don't count all my other failed ideas.
So we've kind of learned how to adapt and overcome. Have we done everything right? No, not at all. But it's through those opportunities, I guess we call them, that it helped us get to where we're at today. And that's where we want to bring that to other people's attention, that, you know, there are opportunities. Just because things may not be going your way and you may not be able to do what you want to do, there are still opportunities that you can do together with your spouse instead of spending time apart.
So here's one. It's really hard. A dedicated fence man eats, breathes, and bleeds fence, but at the end of the day, she always deserves quality time together with the kids. Beautiful couple you guys are. Well, thank you for that, Bo. And
they do. And okay, so yeah. When he gets home, do you think that he just shuts off his switch and he's like totally like boop, boop, blinds drawn? No.
All the problems come home with us.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's when, like we were talking about earlier, I step in and I try to help them out as much as I can, you know?
It's one of the reasons that we like being here in Florida is because even on a rough day, we can go walk down the beach or we can go take a nice walk even in the middle of winter. And that helps kind of clear my head and helps me refocus. That happened the other day. You're like, okay, we're going for a walk because I was stressed to the max. And she's like, we're going to go for a walk. And by the time I got done doing that, I felt better.
But not only that, but allowing yourself to either go for a drive, go for a walk, do something where you may still be working, you have your cell phone on, you're answering calls, but you also have the ability to talk to your partner about what's going on. And that brings up honesty and communication. Because if you do not share the ins and outs of your business with your spouse, you're only hurting yourself and you're hurting them. They deserve to know what's going on, and they deserve how to be your cheerleader, how to be your coach, how to be your number one supporter, how to be everything.
What about, so being inside the business and being outside the business, you've made a couple of comments sometimes like, I'd rather just not know.
I would sometimes.
But on the same hand,
I'm glad you tell me.
You also want to know because you want to know if there's, sometimes not knowing is bliss, but on the same hand, you also you don't want me to bottle that up and me to be the only one that bears that. And I think sometimes we as guys or the business leaders, we try and hide and shelter, especially when things are going bad. Now, this is especially, we're all too happy to tell you when things are going great, but we aren't so open and honest with our spouses when things are going terribly, like especially financially. We definitely shelter and hide, and we bear all of that responsibility.
Or bad projects, or any negative things that you're going through, because you don't want to worry your spouse, which I understand.
Financial is probably the biggest.
Financial is huge.
I would share any employee issues with you or team member issues with you and all the other stuff, customer issues. But the one thing I'm going to shelter you from all the time, and it's because it's I guess we want to protect, and that is I would hide all the financial stuff. So when things were going really, really badly, I wouldn't tell you. And
I understand that. But I would rather you tell me.
And then you didn't know why I was so closed off. And
I'll be like, upset. Oh, so that's why you're so upset. That's why you've been on edge for the past 2 weeks. Then you understand more of what they're going through, and you can help. You can just help them get through it. I mean, yeah, it sucks, but you have to take a step back and put your emotions aside and remember that your job is to help support them and understand them and help get them to a good place to help them find the resolution and not cause more problems. So
Nathaniel Weed wants to know how it was after the bankruptcy. That was a dark time. Now, you remember so we had a private mortgage. We did not have a mortgage through a bank on our house when we went through bankruptcy. And so I had to call up a guy that I had known for a very long time and tell him that, we were getting ready to go through bankruptcy, and he was going to get a letter in the mail that we were going through bankruptcy. And I'll share with you what he asked me. The only thing that gentleman asked me when we were going through bankruptcy is, how's your marriage? That's all he cared about. He wasn't like, am I going to get paid? He didn't care anything about that. He just wanted to know if we're going to make it through our marriage, because there are certain things that are like I've been told that there's 3 major critical milestones and devastating milestones in a couple's history, and that is divorce, the loss of a child, and then bankruptcy. And so we've done one, and I can't imagine any of those people that have lost a child. But honestly, but bankruptcy was a non-issue for our marriage, really.
But I think it's because we dealt with everything prior to, because we dealt with losing the business and trying to figure everything out with that. And so by that time, and plus we also had alcoholism before that, and we had me trying to cheat online. Yeah,
there was a period of time when she wasn't getting the attention.
That goes back to when he was traveling all the time on the road. It was extremely lonely. I forgot about that. But there was a period of time, and it was the days of Yahoo Chat, if you all remember that, if you're as old as me.
Don't date yourself. You're making yourself so old.
I am old.
Yahoo Chat cheated
Yahoo
on me.
Chat, yeah.
I met one of our absolute best
and
friends.
I met one of our
it.
best friends through it. Yeah. But, you know, I went on there with the anticipation of trying to get attention because I wasn't getting it from him because he was working out of town. And after he got done working, he was at the bar and I would try to call him and he wouldn't answer his phone. And then I tried to call the bar and he'd hang up on me. And I remember all those vividly. And it sucked. But we got through it.
So one of these anonymous people is Kevin and Steve. So welcome to the chat, Kevin and Steve. Do you know Kevin and Steve?
I don't.
Kevin and Steve was VV's boss. Victor Vasquez's boss.
Okay.
Until he left. Apparently he fired himself and left, and then left Victor Vasquez in charge, I guess. I don't know who's running the show over there now. But he's in Texas.
Oh, he's a hater.
Yeah, so he's going to be my lone hater because I just don't have enough of those.
Okay.
So I have plenty online. You're in good company online, Kevin and Steve. What I really need is the ones in person, in person. So don't make sure you show up in Vegas. Let's see. Crazy all decided to do this awesome idea. I'm a young man, started my business last year with a newborn and fiance.
Mm-hmm.
Times have been tough. And this is a very common thing.
So my friend, not only do you have a new fence business, but you have a new baby and you have a soon to be wife. It's the trifecta.
Yeah, I would say that is, we're going to call that the trifecta. That's it. And it's going to be tough.
But it's not impossible.
So what would you tell him? What would you tell anonymous Facebook user that I don't know their name? What would you tell him?
Okay, anonymous Facebook user with a business, a wife, or soon to be wife and a baby. Number one, don't forget to communicate with her. Be open, honest, share your thoughts, share your feelings, share your frustrations. Make sure that you spend plenty of time together. But biggest all, communication.
And when you're home, be present.
And be present. Yeah, be present. Don't go. I mean, if you're out on the job all week and you come home, don't go out and hang out with the guys.
I mean, it's maybe if you're going to work 8 hours a week, make sure that couple hours a night is spent with her, and I don't, watching her favorite show or your favorite show or doing something you guys both love.
Yeah. But the biggest thing is be honest and true to her, but be honest and true to yourself too. What are your goals, and how do you want to get to those goals, and how do you want to get to those goals together, and share that with her and talk with her. Because you have a business and you have a baby and you need to pull everything together, and you're not going to do that alone. You need her. She needs you. So.
Yeah. Nathaniel says his business has doubled from last year and he likes the idea of just traveling around with her. And that's fine if that works for you. If she likes it. If she likes it and she has that time available, that's a great time to connect and just talk. She'll get to see what you go through every day. We have had many in-depth conversations, just riding around, talking, going to jobs, going to walk on the beach, to clear our heads. That's some of the best conversations we've ever had happen. How do you feel about this? I hate sounding like a broken record, preaching about 50% gross profit, but it's definitely helped my marriage. Selling in volume will do nothing but overwork you and take away from your family. Do you have a comment here? Do you want me to? Go ahead. I'll comment on this. Profits make everything better. When the business is doing good, your biggest concern, like if you're doing good financially in business, your biggest concern is being overworked. But if you're doing poorly in business and there's no money to pay the bills and you're overworked, that's even more stressful. So profits are definitely better. If I had to take two, just be careful that you don't chase too hard, and because that's our mindset as people that want to grow a business, as entrepreneurs, is we just want it all. We want it all the time. And we're gonna, if I can get, if I got 100 jobs, maybe I can get 110. So we're always gonna push the envelope. And then it can be, I guess, as long as she doesn't feel neglected because you're hyper focused on working all the time. Yeah. But if it works for you, it works for you. And I'm not going to diss that. If you find something that works between you two, you roll on with it. And we're just saying this worked between us, and it's not a surefire way. We're not perfect, and everybody has different ways of doing things, and that's cool. If it works for you, it works for you. Brian Pate says, Mark Olson, this is what a business is so great for all. You're a hell of a good man. Take care of all. And so just a note to self that I love to hear from everybody. Brian Pate reached out to me the other day, and I'm going to be very honest. Brian Pate forgot to tell me his name and just said he wasn't a salesman, and it didn't go well. So I apologize to Brian Pate. I didn't take that text, but understand I get a lot of texts from people, and Brian was very cordial about it. And I don't mind taking calls. I take calls all day, every day, texts, and really try and reach back out to everybody. So don't start your sentence by saying you're not a salesman, because I'm going to think you're a salesman. Just say, hey, this is XYZ, and we'll have a great conversation. So, this has got to be canon. Something about divorce because of some chickens. So I hope you don't get a divorce because of the chickens.
I had nothing to do with the chickens. It's not
worth it. Thank you for sharing your story. Work, family life balance is extremely important. We only get one chance. Now,
it's true.
Let's talk about that work, family life balance. How do you feel? What is the balance? What does that mean? What is work, family life balance? Does that mean that you get half my time and work gets half my time?
No.
What's that look like?
It'd be nice if it was 50-50, but fair is not equal and equal is not fair. So it's, I don't know, it's finding a healthy balance between two people. And that could be you checking out at 5 o'clock and going home and helping your wife and cooking dinner and whatever. Or it could be you coming home and her helping you do things. It's just, it's different from person to person. I think it just depends on who you are.
Bust and hump all season long during the busy season, let's say summer, and then taking a really good long winter break and being present for your family during the winter.
Because we all know that fencing is not, it's a seasonal.
For most people.
For most people. But like in Wyoming, our busy season is going to be the summer months. 100%. All the guys work overtime. All the guys work long hours. And that may not be the prime time for you to book a Disney vacation in that prime season and get upset because your husband can't take time off because he has 10 crews and he has 30 jobs, and so you have to be prepared to know what works for you and not be expectant of him to drop everything when he has to get his job done or she has to get her job done, whomever.
So this is Josh Rand. So sadly, it takes a lot of time for guys to figure out that marital things are not always what they want.
Material.
Or sorry, I don't like those marital things. I'm not
marital things.
Those marital things. Material things are not always what they want. I've learned it's quality time that.
At least my wife needs.
Yeah, at least. So sometimes we can feel fulfilled by killing things and dragging it home, and that's how we feel like we're providing the best life for our family, and that is not necessarily what fulfills you.
So that we need to talk about love languages, and Mark kind of touched on that, because for a lot of men, the love language is killing something and dragging it home. It's going out there and busting their ass every day. It's going out there and selling jobs and more profits, more jobs, more employees, more of everything, And for women, it's more of the emotional connection and doing things and what else? What are the other love languages?
Yeah, like there's buying things, there's providing things, there's spending time, there's physical touch, there's intimacy, there's a lot of different things that come into it. And it's figuring out which one of those that your significant other responds to and needs and trying to provide that. So this is a good one. So would you like to talk about this? Because I'm not very good at this.
Oh my gosh, Kristin, you and I should get together. Next time they're both on the phone, we're going to text each other and be like, that's one of the worst things, to be honest, is when he gets home and he hops on a phone call at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and I just want to snug and cuddle and watch a movie, and he's getting all hyped up on the phone. That is one of the worst things. And
that didn't happen last night.
It didn't happen last night.
At all.
Not speaking from experience.
Not speaking from recent experience. We have a hard time unplugging.
But it's true. But you have to understand, and it's taken me a long time to understand this, but it's also taken me a long time to stand up and voice my opinion and be like, hey, you've been on the phone for an hour, and
That's what she does.
you're talking in circles and you're not getting anywhere, and you're just getting yourself worked up, or you're not even getting to any common goal. Just let it go. Let it go. Spend some time with me. But he can't do it sometimes, and I understand that.
I've let phone calls ruin a date before.
Yeah.
So we
All the time.
have a rule now that we live here in Florida, and we've kind of done this our whole life, but it kind of waxed and waned a little bit, kind of in the middle there. But we always went on dates, and so even though we had kids, we always got a sitter, and we went on dates, and it was Friday night date night, and
Oh, there we are.
okay, we're back.
We're back.
Thank you, Xfinity. So anyhow, what the heck was I saying?
Date nights.
Date nights.
Friday
yes.
night date nights.
We've always done Friday night date nights, and so it's really important not to let the phone calls ruin date night. And luckily, that's on Friday, and most people are like, "Okay, I'm just not going to call you until Monday."
So for some people who like to call you on Friday, not naming any names.
I don't know who calls me on Friday. I mean, some people.
I know.
But
He knows.
I try not to let that ruin it, but it has. There's been times when I was in a great mood at the beginning of the night, and then I get some text or emails.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I know that it's hard to not check email, but I think that you need to have a set rule, like after so-and-so time, we're going to put the phone away, or we're going to put the email away, or we're going to put because I think everybody deserves the time to unwind and relax. And when you constantly have that phone in your hand and you're constantly reading emails, I don't think it's conducive to anything good when you're trying to spend quality time with your spouse or your kids or your dog or whatever you spend time with. So.
Yeah, late night phone calls. Not only late night phone calls, I'll wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning and check for email. I mean, it's stupid stuff, and that's stuff I can prevent. That's an action that I could take to make things better than what they are now, and I don't always do that. So, see, I'm not perfect. This channel, just so you know, this channel is called Successful Contractor, not because I feel like I'm successful, but because I want to be successful, not because I feel like I've got it all figured out. So, if you've ever wondered, like, oh, I am still figuring stuff out and making mistakes daily.
Oh, and then bring up Paul's comment.
Listen.
Yeah. So don't apologize, because the thing is,
it's my fault for taking it.
It's his fault for taking it. No. No, the thing is if he's available and if he knows that he can take the time, he will answer the phone. Just know that. So don't feel guilty if he was talking to you, because if he has the time and he has the ability, he's going to answer that phone. And he actually is the first one to say that if I don't, if I'm available, I'll answer. And if I don't answer, I'm not available.
It usually means I'm asleep.
Okay, well, maybe he needs to change things.
So Kristin says she turns her phone on do not disturb after 5 p.m.
I like that. I think if more people did this, put on the do not disturb, but the problem is we are creatures of the manic pandemonium that society has created to be dependent on our phones. But I think if more people did this, they would be happier. So maybe that's a challenge you need to take upon yourself.
I would like to hide this comment, but apparently, did we fritz out? What's going on?
I don't know.
I feel like something's wrong.
Are we having some issues?
Somebody say something so that I know you're still there, because this comment will not hide. Yep, I feel like what is going on?
Did we lose And we're back.
And we're back.
Yeah, I think our internet freaked out.
Yeah, our internet's really good when it's good, and then it's not good when it's not good. So we're back.
Oh, see, I like that
See, no,
comment.
that's cool, Nathaniel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the little things, like obviously that's her love language, and then you get coffee and she's there. That's a win-win.
Absolutely. And so Mark and I are very traditional, very traditional. We always have been. We've always had very set roles. And some people think it's like the craziest thing ever, but for us, it works. So I have always been the one who's in charge of the house, cooking, the kids. I'm like the traditional wife role. I'm like the 50s wife, housewife. I slap his hand if he tries to get his plate because that's my job.
You didn't do that until we moved here.
I didn't. Well, I did a little bit.
Well, yeah, a little bit. She always put my plate in the fridge if I wasn't there for dinner.
Yeah,
so
I always did that.
Plate was always ready, prepared. I didn't have to get out all the separate dishes. It would be a prepared plate in the fridge.
But it's one thing that the reason I do it here is because number one, I noticed that it always made him happy. Like he doesn't have to worry about that. He gets home, he has a meal, he has a plate, it's there. He doesn't have to worry about picking up after himself. I got that. You just go and slay it with your business, and then I'll take care of the house. Now, cars and stuff, he has to take care of all that. That's him. But
yeah, so we have very
very
traditional
traditional roles.
Some people may agree with that, some may disagree with that, but it's worked for us.
But I love that comment. I think if it's just the little things you do for each other, and if you know, like your husband likes a specific coffee or your husband drinks a specific drink, and just going and getting it for him and bringing it to him, or your wife likes a specific whatever. It's just little things. It just shows that you care, and little things just make you happy.
When you're here wading through statements, and then I bring you a Diet Pepsi.
Yes. For the job
that
I
was
don't
out
want.
and about.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna let you figure out what Kristin's saying here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
We got you.
That's it. That's it. That's a secret. That is a secret.
It is a secret.
That's a secret. I think sometimes and often missed secret.
NCT.
NCT.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know what NCT is, I don't know what to tell you.
You probably can't Google it because I don't even think it's a
It's
common
not
term.
a thing. It's a term here.
Is it a term here?
It's a term here in our.
I mean, not a common term. It's
No.
yeah.
No, NCT.
Mm-hmm. Every night, NCT.
NCT. So we've always had we've gone through a lot of things in our marriage, and so we've always had kind of a saying. And what do you remember? You know what I'm going to say? We have like a motto. It started, I think, with was it the bankruptcy? She's drawing a blank.
I'm drawing a blank.
The minute I say it.
Mm-hmm.
So our saying is we can do anything for 2 years.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Anything for 2
We
years.
can do anything for
we
2
can
years.
suffer for 2 years on anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the reasons we have this 2-year challenge, is because we know that we can make it through this 2 years, no problem. And then if after 2 years something hasn't changed, then we're going to make change to make that happen as a couple.
Yeah.
So we can, for 2 years, she can give a little, I can give a little,
Mm-hmm.
Whatever needs conquering in that 2-year period of time, whether it's the startup of the business or kids or whatever, we can do that for 2 years, and then we realign our focuses after 2 years. So it's kind of that, like we can do hard things for 2 years.
Well, and part of a happy, healthy marriage is being able to sacrifice some certain things. So, I mean, it sucks and it's not easy, but we can do it. We've done it.
We'll do it again.
We'll
probably.
do it again. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Blank screen. So Corey Arrow. Did I say that right? Corey Arrow. Alex Harris is here. What's up? Me and Lonnie are here.
Nice.
Hopefully I'm saying Lonnie right. So if you guys have any questions for us or want more stories of some of the stupid stuff we've done, then by all means chime in. When and how did you guys decide to bring Tanya onto the team?
Well, let's just tell you about that. So I was a nurse. I worked as a nurse 7 years.
something like that.
Something like
you went
that.
to school, and then so it was a period of time from
11 years.
2010 when you went to school.
I don't know.
I think it was 2010. You and I both went to school.
It doesn't really matter. But anyhow, I was a nurse and worked at a clinic and loved my job, loved my doctor, loved the people I worked with. But it got to a point where it became extremely overwhelming, and burnout is real. I mean, burnout's huge in the medical field, but burnout's huge in any job, to be honest. And when you have administration that sucks, it just makes it even worse. But anyhow, I never got to travel with him because I always had to get time off. I had to beg my doctor to take time off the same I take time off so we could actually go, because otherwise I wouldn't have anybody to cover me. And we've always liked to be with each other. We always like to travel. We always like to do things. And we always wanted to be with each other. And so we came up with the agreement that if we got to a good place with the business and we could bring me on, we would do it. And then we finally got to that place in 2020.
We needed somebody. We really badly needed somebody to do some of the bookkeeping stuff for us. And Tanya was kind of fed up, and I was like, I was mad because I was traveling, I was doing all these cool things, and she could never come with me.
Yeah, it sucked. It was so bad.
If I wanted to go on vacation, I felt like I was strapped to town just as bad as she was, because I really desperately wanted to. I traveled a lot without you, but I desperately wanted to be with you.
And that's just who we are. We just always like to be with each other. So I actually put my notice in, and I left the nursing field, 2 weeks before COVID hit, 2020. So it was like perfect timing, chef's kiss. So that's when everything, the stars kind of aligned to where we could, number one, the business could bring me on. And number two, I was at a point where I was ready to try something different. And number three, the kids were getting older, and it just made more sense that we actually had the ability to do the things that we could. So they brought me on to do accounts payable.
And then she was the de facto bookkeeper when we got to Florida, and she's yay,
love my job.
She's super excited about it. She wants fired.
Please fire me.
And I won't.
He sucks.
So Kristin's right. So we've had this mentality from the very beginning, and I can tell you where it started from. So I was raised traditionally, I was Mormon, and in the Mormon religion, as much as I'm not Mormon now, no fault to anybody else that's watching, you do you. But one of the things that I really believed in is that marriage was for like ever. You just don't give up. And we had that when we wrote our vows, and we got married in the Presbyterian church, and one of the things we made them strike from the wedding vows was until death do us part. We're just like, no, that's just not the way it's going to be. I don't care if that's the way it's going to be, but we're not going to talk about that. So we 100% went into this marriage with the understanding that it was forever. Ever. That's why we call each other the lobsters. So she's my lobster, and the reason you come up with that is because lobsters mate for life. So
friends.
Little known thing
about
lobsters. They hold their
little claws together. Yeah.
Could you do that again, please?
No.
Weirdo. Yeah. So we just giving up is not an option. You know, after the whole alcoholism and the online attention that you were getting, we just both, it was when the one was weak, the other one was strong, and vice versa, I would say. So
can we just touch on the days of alcohol, Mark? Can we touch on that?
No. Okay.
Because there's so much more to it. There's so much more to it. Because that time was an extremely stressful time. And I didn't understand how extremely stressful it was. He could probably tell you how extremely stressful it was.
It started in Nebraska.
Yeah.
There's a huge, that's a story in and of itself. Like, that's a legit story, and I almost probably ended up in prison.
That's for another day. We'll go over that another day. But
not a happy time.
The timeline of that was, I don't want to say the opportunity was there, but it was just like the perfect storm of everything between the business failing.
No, this is the beginning. This is before the business. This is the business.
the business was not succeeding either.
Oh, well, at the end,
It
yes.
wasn't succeeding.
Yeah.
There was a lot of bad blood between him and his brother. There was a lot of issues with the business and trying to function, and it was just a really, really dark and dismal time.
New kids.
New kids,
house.
babies at home,
Fairly
new
new
responsibilities.
New marriages.
I mean, it was, and you get to that point where it was a crutch. And instead of having the coping mechanisms of being able to talk openly and honestly with me and with himself, he went towards that instead. So if you find yourself in a hard, dismal situation and you reach for a bottle, you need to second guess yourself and ask yourself why. And why are you not talking to your spouse about this? Because that was part of the problem.
Yeah, it was just a lot of stuff. It was a lot of new things that I was incapable of dealing with at the time.
Yep.
Emotionally, mentally, whatever.
But we got through it. So it made us stronger for who we are
I'm
now.
not sure who this is. Love you all being real. I've been married 24 years. My wife's been supportive through all my immaturity and mistakes. There's so much more than just business. The personal life will affect the business.
Absolutely.
Now, if I had to pick one thing, if I could choose my marriage or the business, it's going to be the marriage every time. The business, get out of here. Don't care.
Forget about it.
Yeah. Be chair, don't care. Get out of here. The marriage is the one thing I can't replace. And so many people get so focused on their business that what I think we see a lot of is they're so focused on their business that they neglect the person at home that's helping them pull everything together. And then what does that do? When they get a divorce, then all of a sudden the business is in trouble because they're fighting over a business and splitting assets and all that other stuff. And that only hurts you worse. So it's going to come around eventually.
Yeah. But in that comment too, it goes both ways. It's not just probably his immaturity mistakes, it's also hers. Because in every bad situation we were in, it wasn't one-sided.
We're learning together.
It was both of us. It was both of us made mistakes in it. So it's not one-sided at all. And if you think it is, you're lying to yourself. So.
That's the person that asked that question. That was Zach from Blackline that had that comment about being married for 24 years.
Well, good for you. I think that I agree with that comment.
This person says at the end of the day, your number one crew isn't in the field working. It's the one waiting for you home. And they're your biggest champions too. They're your biggest supporters. They're the ones that take the brunt of your problems too. Like, it's that whole get home and kick the dog thing.
You need to go back and talk Kristin's comment up there. This one is huge. Huge.
This in here? Is that the one you want?
Yes. The tone we take with our spouse.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But it's easy because you have been married to somebody for so long to forget that there's a way that you should talk to them and there's a way you shouldn't talk to them. And I think that once you get into a marriage and you're with each other every day, you forget about that boundary and you just kind of let it roll onto them unintentionally.
Sometimes we treat the people around, like our family members, we'll take a different tone with them than we would with our teammates. Now, I've noticed that, and I'm guilty of that probably more with my family. Like Cade, but our family will do things to us that they wouldn't do to another employer. So it's very tough. That's a whole other segment, like boundaries in the workplace with family.
But we forget of the tone we take with our families. And I think people need to realize more of the tone they take and how it affects people, because I'm with it, because when he's having a bad day, it comes onto me. But I've also got to the point where I stand up to myself now and I say, hey, listen.
You stand up to yourself. That's good.
I mean, to you, I stand up to you.
You just stand up to yourself.
I said, whatever. You know what I meant.
Not acceptable. So Hip Square says, congrats on getting the missus to go flying with us. And that was a big step. So we've done a lot of things. Now, there was a mentality shift.
That's a whole other episode too.
Yeah, there was a mentality shift for me about 4 years ago, and I just decided that I was going to stop waiting until later to live. And so that's when I got my pilot's license. But Tanya's kind of been reluctantly coming along for the ride of my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes she's not so sure how she feels about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then flying is one of those things. So she went flying with me probably when I had maybe 80 hours and has not been up flying with me. This is the second time she ever did it. And she's like, oh, I'm just not getting in your small little plane and it's so hot. And that was Wyoming Tanya. Now, Florida Tanya was like, I'm a little bit nervous about it, but I'm going to try it out. And the whole time we're on the runway and we're sweating and waiting to take off. And I'm just nervous about her. And so I really talked her through it. And there's that communication thing again. This is what to expect. And this is how it's going to go. And she loved it. So Florida Tanya is like a whole different Tanya than Wyoming Tanya.
But you got to understand how Florida Tanya got to be. Tanya. Because I don't know if a lot of you know the story of how we moved to Florida.
Yes.
But it was basically, we jumped in with both feet. And it was quick and it was dirty and it was freaking amazing.
It was not dirty.
Well, I mean,
it was very clean. It
was pretty clean. But, you know,
Florida, and she was very uptight. She was very closed-minded in Wyoming. And when we came to Florida, she decided to open her mind to new possibilities.
Exactly. And that's what I was getting at, is that after we did that and we jumped and I saw that we could do something totally wild, totally crazy, and everything turns out and it's going to be okay, it gave me the confidence to be able to shed my insecurities and take the opportunities and try new things. And part of it is the fact that I'm going to be 45. And you just get to that point when you're in your 40s that you're like, life's too short and I can't be afraid to do things. And, you know, you try new things and it works out. You try new things and maybe it doesn't work out. But if you don't ever try it, you're never going to know. So that jump was kind of the precipitating factor that changed my mindset to like, okay, you know, I can do this. I can go to the beach and not get sunburned every time. And I can go on a plane and be just fine. And I can travel across the country and be just fine. And
I would say part of that, though, and a big part of that would probably be being supportive of me and the things that I like to do. Because I like to be at the beach and I like to fly. And she's like, well, if that's where you are, that's where I want to be. And I'm going to learn to like those things.
And that's what we always say. And that's a good point, is because sometimes do I want to go to the beach? No. But
don't tell these people that, they're really going to get mad.
But it's something that he enjoys doing, and I want to be with him, and I want to enjoy it with him and see the joy it brings to him. So I go. And I hate to tell you, but I'm always happy I went. So it's just changing your mindset.
Let's see. We got a couple minutes here. I guess we could take a question. This is one of those cases where I'm going to tell you. I'll answer this question because you know our struggle. But
yeah,
I'd like to tell you I know exactly how you do this. And the one thing that I know for certain is that you won't attract them without benefits and good pay. That's going to be the first step to get them in the door. So you're not going to attract people if you're paying substandard wages to do a job that is probably one of the most undesirable jobs in construction right now. Nobody wants to go out there in the sweltering heat and the freezing cold and build fences and get paid a meager wage to do it. So we've had the long-standing rule that whatever your Walmart and your McDonald's and the fast food places are paying, you need to be 1.5 to 1.75 times that. So if they're paying $15 an hour, you probably need to be paying somewhere in the neighborhood of $22 an hour. It's tough to say, and the only way you can get there is to raise your prices. That's really tough because there's too many other people in our area that don't understand that, and they're trying to get people for substandard wages. And it's just a whole vicious cycle, but you have to break the chain somewhere. So the other thing is you're going to have to treat them right when they're there, and you're going to have to take care of them. They're going to stay somewhere where they don't feel fulfilled and they don't feel like the work that they do matters. So work on those things. Make sure you have a good benefits package, the best benefits package that you can manage. And the lower your benefits are, the higher your wage needs to be. So if you can't pay them, if you don't have medical insurance, for example, you need to make sure that they're making even more than what I would say. So maybe it's 2 times what McDonald's pays. Again, the only way to be able to pay that is to charge more for the work you do. That is a concept that I think is so foreign on so many people, and they just don't get it. And those are the people that really struggle to ever grow their business and find people. Now, with all that said, I'm going to tell you that we are absolutely struggling here in Florida to try and find and retain people. And the biggest problem is like qualified leaders. I've hired no less than 3 people that were working for another company making $20 an hour, and then we offer them $28 an hour to start as crew leaders, and can't get them to show up for their first day at work. For the life of me, I can't figure that out. I don't know. And those people were making $20 an hour without benefits, and then we offered to pay them $8 more an hour with benefits, and they don't show up. So if you can explain that one, by all means, drop a comment down below, because it doesn't make any sense. Not to mention we're a 5-star rated company, and all the people that work for us enjoy what they do. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy, but we've really struggled to get trained foremen, and so it's to the point where we have to train them. And the problem with that is that unfortunately the people that we get here in Florida, we're training them from a much greener place than we did in Wyoming, like how to read a tape measure, where in Wyoming they already know how to read a tape measure, fabricate, and weld. So anyhow, that's been our experience. It's never easy, but it gets a lot easier the more you're willing to pay and the better you're willing to treat people. So let's see, we got a couple comments here. Kevin Steve says he's moving to Florida. Hey, Kevin and Steve, come on.
Come work for us.
I have no idea why you landed in Texas, because everybody knows that Florida's paradise. So good luck with that Texas stuff. There's a rumor starting. They're going to be my ghost. It's Spooky Controls. I don't know what this ghost is that you're referring to.
He's going to change the name to Spooky.
I probably need to start an operator company called Spooky Controls.
You should.
That's a brilliant idea.
Thanks for that.
Anybody wants to go halvesies and put up all the money?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in.
That's a good comment right there too.
I think it's hard emotionally on our spouses because we're either on cloud 9 or at the bottom of the ocean. Very rarely are we happy in the middle. This is very true.
It's a true comment. It really is.
We are going from the crack cocaine high of selling a job to the absolute low of somebody quitting us or a customer shitting all over us. That's it. That is so true. I don't know who said that, but dude, spot on.
But I mean, from my perspective, when he is at the bottom of the ocean, I'm his biggest cheerleader, trying to bring him back up. And when he's on top, I'm his biggest supporter, celebrating him and what he's accomplishing. So I think it's the spouse being able to put forth the effort to help them out in this.
You're always my cheerleader.
I am.
I mean, that's the bottom line. You're always. In the Northwest, where they instituted $15 an hour minimum wage, people ask for less hours so they don't lose their benefits. Yeah, and if they're asking for a 15-hour minimum wage, then probably in the Northwest, I would expect that you're probably paying at least double that for somebody that's qualified, at least. So, what's my occupation? I was 15. I didn't have an occupation.
He was a student.
I was a student, and like 3 weeks before we started dating, 3-4 weeks before we started dating, I was a newly minted fence builder at 15. So that's when my career started. I've been a fence builder as long as I've been with her. Actually, just a little bit longer.
He worked for my parents.
Yeah. So that's a whole other story. I've been in this industry for a very long time and learned everything I've learned everything the hard way.
But that's part of that's one of the most beautiful things is we have been together so long that, we're together longer than we've been apart. Or however you say that. How do you say that?
Yeah, we've been together longer than we've been apart, for sure.
Yeah.
Twice as long.
Twice as long.
Almost exactly. But who's counting? I'm just going to let everybody else beat up Nathaniel Weed. I hate to say it, Nathaniel, but the free is not free. You're paying for it somewhere. We're all paying for it. There's no such thing as free. We always say Bernie Sanders free.
Bernie Sanders free.
My kids even know that phrase. Like, well, it's free, and then the next thing out of their mouth is
Somebody's paying for it.
Bernie Sanders free. They're getting it from you in Texas or taxes or somewhere. So, Axel Boris wants to know if we bring crews down from Wyoming in the winter.
No, because we've been too busy.
Yeah, in Wyoming they've been staying fairly consistent, and it's just too expensive.
Mhm.
If the rates were higher here, maybe I could pull that off, but the rates are just too depressed.
Yeah.
And we do things, it's just
And
a
it's
different environment.
expensive, like housing and
If I was going to put them up in a house for a week, it costs $3,000 a week
Yeah,
for a
it's
house. So
expensive.
you just can't afford to do it. You have to find people that are from here. We live in a very expensive part of Florida.
Mhm.
I think people don't understand. Yeah, expensive. The houses are expensive, but they don't want to pay anything for the fences. So it's kind of an interesting dichotomy.
But yet the wages here are low.
It is.
So it's kind of interesting.
Well, do you have anything else to say before we sign off? Because I don't want to drag these people on for another. We like to. It's an hour. We do an hour show.
I know.
One tip: give them one golden nugget to keep them sane when they're trying to build.
Golden nugget. NCT. If you remember, if you can figure out what that is.
NCT.
NCT.
There you go. That's what you have.
The biggest thing is don't be afraid to communicate. Don't be afraid to tell your spouse what's going on. Be honest with each other and live that happy ever after.
Sounds like we're picking up Cannon.
Are we going to bring Cannon? I get to listen to him talk. I'm excited.
Dude, I'd pay Cannon 40. I'd pay Cannon.
Does he get an
easy
extra
40.
5 hours to serenade me
Yeah.
in the southern drawl?
I might even give you a stipend for housing or whatever they call that.
Does Kristin have an accent? Do you have an accent?
A little bit, not as bad as Cannon. Cannon's way better. So, yep. So that we're gonna call that a night. Hopefully you guys got something out of that. Hope you picked a couple nuggets up out of there.
You don't want to live in a tent. We have huge spiders in our backyard.
And lots of no-see-ums and
Mhm.
snakes. You definitely want to. So anyhow, we're gonna go get some NCT and we're gonna sign off here. Thanks for showing up and come on, do the thing.
You have a good dang day.
You have a good dang day. There you go. That was you can do better than that.
You have a good dang day.
All right. Thanks for showing up, guys.